how many prominent or pioneering women scientists can you name? If any of the 10 women listed here sound familiar, we're impressed. And if names like Carson and Franklin don't ring a bell, we recommend reading Britannica's entry Women in Science. Women scientists who should be famous, or more famous, implies a certain level of obscurity. Yet each of the women presented here, in no particular order, made groundbreaking, insightful, or novel contributions to science. Singling out 10 women to champion was of course no easy task, but we figured that this list, which consists of women from a wide array of scientific fields and who practiced when science was still largely the domain of men, was a good place to start. This list was adapted from a post that originally appeared on the Britannica blog. 10. Ida Noddack. Ida Noddack, a German chemist, co-discovered the chemical element rhenium and first proposed the idea of nuclear fission. According to Britannica, in 1934 Italian physicist Enrico Fermi claimed possible production of atomic elements heavier than uranium, or transuranium elements, after bombardment of uranium with neutrons. However, in a paper on Fermi's discovery, Noddack noted in passing that the bombardment of uranium could have actually produced smaller nuclei. Her suggestion was the first proposal of the concept of nuclear fission. However, it was ignored at the time because it entailed such a broad departure from the accepted views of nuclear physics and was unsupported by clear chemical evidence. In 1938 German chemists Otto Hahn and Fritz Strussmann showed that the uranium had indeed split apart into lighter elements and that fission was possible. In 1939 Noddack asserted her prior discovery of nuclear fission. Hahn and Strussmann refused to answer Noddack's charges. 9. Qianxiang Wu. Sometimes hailed as the Chinese Madame Curie, Qianxiang Wu is considered one of the premier experimental physicists in the world for her important contributions to the young field of nuclear physics. She was born and raised in China and completed her graduate education at the University of California at Berkeley in 1940. In 1944 she undertook work on radiation detection for the Manhattan Project in the Division of War Research at Columbia University, where she made improved Geiger counters to better measure radiation levels. She remained at Columbia after the war. One of her most significant contributions was her experimental proof that the principle of parity conservation does not hold in weak subatomic interactions. She was an expert on the process in nuclear physics known as beta decay. Her work helped prove the theory that would win Sundao Li and Chen-Ning Yang the Nobel Prize. Despite numerous nominations, Wu was not awarded the prize. She received the National Medal of Science in 1975 and was the first female president of the American Physical Society. 8. Mathilde Krim. American medical researcher and health educator Mathilde Krim is known for her determined work in combating AIDS and HIV through research and education. Among her most lasting contributions to the fight against AIDS was her establishment of the AIDS Medical Foundation in 1983, which later merged with a similar organization to form the American Foundation for AIDS Research, AMFAR. Krim received the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2000. 7. Maria Telkes. Maria Telkes, a Hungarian-born American physical chemist and biophysicist, is known for her invention of the solar distiller and of the first solar-powered heating system designed for use in the home. After immigrating to the United States in the mid-1920s, she conducted research in biophysics at the Cleveland Clinic Foundation and later became a research engineer at Westinghouse Electric. During World War II, while working for the U.S. Office of Scientific Research and Development, she created a solar distiller that vaporized seawater and recondensed it into potable water. In 1948 her design for the world's first home heating system based on the capture of solar energy came to fruition with the construction of a house in Dover, Massachusetts, that made use of solar collectors and Glauber's salts for heat storage. 6. Cecilia Payne-Gaposchkin. British-born American astronomer Cecilia Payne-Gaposchkin discovered that stars are made mainly of hydrogen and helium and established that stars could be classified according to their temperatures. As Britannica relates. In her PhD thesis, published as Stellar Atmospheres, 1925, Payne used the spectral lines of many different elements and the work of Indian astrophysicist Meghnad Saha, who had discovered an equation relating the ionization states of an element in a star to the temperature to definitively establish that the spectral sequence did correspond to quantifiable stellar temperatures. Payne also determined that stars are composed mostly of hydrogen and helium. However, she was dissuaded from this conclusion by astronomer Henry Norris Russell, who thought that stars would have the same composition as Earth. Russell conceded in 1929 that Payne was correct. Payne received the first PhD in astronomy from Radcliffe College for her thesis, since Harvard did not grant doctoral degrees to women. Astronomers Otto Struve and Velta Zeebergs later called her thesis undoubtedly the most brilliant PhD thesis ever written in astronomy. 5. Jewel Plummer Cobb. Jewel Plummer Cobb was a distinguished American biologist and cancer researcher who studied melanin, melanoma, and cell damage. She earned a PhD in cell physiology in 1950 and launched her career as a fellow at the National Cancer Institute. She discovered that methotrexate was an effective treatment for certain skin cancers and lung cancers. The drug is still used in chemotherapy today. Throughout her career in a white male-dominated field, she worked at a number of prestigious institutions and tirelessly founded and supported a myriad of programs to encourage women and minorities to study STEM. In 1981, she was appointed president of Cal State University, Fullerton, becoming the first black woman to serve as president of a major public university in the western United States. For Sophia Louisa Jex-Blake. In the late 19th century, British physician Sophia Louisa Jex-Blake successfully sought legislation permitting women in Britain to receive a medical degree and a license to practice medicine and surgery. Jex-Blake's own studies are in part a reflection of the circuitous route women were forced to take as a result of being denied the opportunity to receive medical degrees. She first studied at Queen's College, London, and later in Boston and New York and at the University of Edinburgh, where she was denied a degree in medicine. She finally earned a medical degree from the University of Bern and was granted a license to practice by the King's and Queen's College of Physicians, Dublin. 3. Florence Rena Sabin. Florence Rena Sabin was an American anatomist and investigator known for her research on the lymphatic system and who was considered to be one of the leading women scientists of the United States. In 1917 she became the first female full professor at Johns Hopkins University, and in 1925 she joined the Rockefeller Institute for Medical Research, now Rockefeller University, and was elected to the National Academy of Sciences, in both instances becoming the first woman to receive these honors. Her work in Atlas of the Medulla and Midbrain, 1901, was a popular medical text, and her demonstration that lymphatic vessels develop from a distinct cell layer in certain fetal veins led to her recognition as a top-notch researcher. 2. Muriel Weldale Onslow. British biochemist Muriel Weldale Onslow is known for her study of the inheritance of flower color in the common snapdragon, Antirrhinum majus, which contributed to the foundation of modern genetics. While at the Balfour Biological Laboratory for Women at the University of Cambridge, she worked with William Bateson, a biologist who in 1900 had rediscovered a paper on plant hybrids written by Gregor Mendel. From her experiments with crossing plants of different flower color, Weldale demonstrated that traits are inherited by offspring in specific proportions, thereby affirming the theory of Mendelian inheritance. She reported her landmark findings in 1907 in a paper titled The Inheritance of Flower Color in Antirrhinum majus. Weldale also conducted insightful research on the biochemistry of pigment molecules in plants. 1. Maud Leonora Menten. Canadian biochemist and organic chemist Maud Leonora Menten conducted work on enzyme kinetics with German-born biochemist Leonore Michaelis, leading to the Michaelis-Menten hypothesis, which explains the mechanism and velocity of reversible reactions between enzymes and their substrates. Surprised that the Menten half of the hypothesis was named for a woman? The hypothesis and its supporting equation and constant, formally proposed by the two researchers in 1912-13, are now known collectively as Michaelis-Menten kinetics. She later studied cancer, earned a PhD in biochemistry, and made important contributions to histochemistry.